I was hoping maybe they just hadn't updated the CG, but looks like it is an Ocean Drake. So, Blank's caught Gorilla here, forcing the exhaust off. But here comes Crash, putting out a bit of damage on the opposite side.
Did get his exhaust. And now it looks like Gorilla's actually very close to getting the Leocra's Torment as well. Takes up the blasting plant. And SK Telecom probably going to be able to finally get the top tier 1 turret here. Faker not going to really be able to go too aggressive on prey. And if you're Longzhu, all that you really need to do is make sure that you turtle your red side jungle now. And via the curtain call, you can really easily dissuade SKT from attempting any sort of Baron. Mid turret is still extremely healthy. Faker trying to poke, and Huni found his way on the fly.
Yeah, he's going to force that ultimate out, and this will come in. Very nice root there by Zyra. Can they get anything off the back of it? It doesn't look like it. Actually, Huni is still going deep. Going to get Zyra in the end there. And now still going on in. Everybody on Longzhu is extremely low. Let's get Expansion here, and he's going to stun him out. Nice bit of burst damage coming out of Wolf, and Bang 2 going to pick up another kill. Down go 2 of them. It looks like they may rotate towards Baron now.
Does look like they are going to rotate towards Baron, and they are going to start it. Crash is alive. Fly, though, going to have to teleport here if he wants to, so the teleport's coming through, but I think it's going to be too late. Doesn't matter. SKT pick up the Baron. They have about a 7,000 gold lead now.
This is looking like the SKT we know and love. Able to convert rather. Good plays. You can see Fly, you know, he was too obsessed with holding
a little bit too far forward. Huni able to come in from the backside and force his ultimate out. And that meant that he didn't have it to give to Crash. Otherwise, Crash could have certainly gone a lot more aggressive. Camille ultimate came out, trapping Expression in. Then you can see Bang able to arcane shift forward and finish up that fight, basically. And they convert that into the Baron. And now Longzhu on the defensive.
Didn't look like Gorilla had a chance to cast his ultimate in that fight too. If he got the root into ultimate, perhaps knocking a bunch of them up would have had a better effect. And you can see the amount of damage that Huni does to turrets. And with the Baron buff, he's getting a very nice push off. Having 2 people forced to respond to that tier 2. Still might not be able to stop it. As Gorilla backs off. What happened to Expression's health? I didn't see it leave. It's gone. It's nowhere to be found. Well, it looks like they're trying to zone them out, but Redemption, Wolf stands in the front, eats all that curtain call damage, and that should be another turret going over to SKT.
Another turret and a 10,000 gold lead now. As SK Telecom are basically all but inside of the base. Looks like he's completely uncontested up and top. Expression doesn't really have the ability to duel with him, and now Faker gonna escort the bottom wave into the bot tier 2 turret. And even if Longzhu wanted to go aggressive, they don't have the ultimate on Crash, so they can't close the ground and get onto Bang or Wolf, even if they wanted to.
Las concesiones no dejan de ser un fracaso.
As you were saying before, you weren't sure about this matchup, but it really looks like Expression is having a very rough time stopping this Camille. I mean, look at that burst damage. It just disappears. Forced to ult to just come into the wave and clear it out. What about the next one? Faker's down the bottom. A nice 1-3-1. They can't stop all these waves, and all these turrets are getting lower and lower as we speak.
This is working really well because of how far ahead SKT is right now. Longzhu doesn't have a real response to this. Faker not quite able to get the bottom turret. Ends up backing off and recalling. That doesn't matter. It was a successful Baron nonetheless. Ocean Drake coming up in about a minute here. Edge of the Night now completed. And it looks like his next item probably going to move into Guardian Angel.
Looks like it. What is the play here for Longzhu? They need to get some really good engage onto someone in the front, maybe catch Faker or Bang. But the problem with that is both of those carries are extremely mobile. Kha'Zix is also. All of them have essentially. Very hard to find a way to jump onto this team and catch them unawares. And especially when they're this far ahead, you have to get a fight that's in your favor. You're not going to win 5v5. So just turtle for now. Hopefully SKT can't get too far ahead with the objectives. They're probably pretty happy that this is an Ocean Drake and not a different one. And for now, for SKT, it looks like they're going to continue with what they were doing while they had Baron, which is just 1-3-1. Slowly pushing the waves all at the same time and force Longju to try to make a defense.
A little bit surprised that they're not removing Ocean Drake sooner just to get the Elder Dragon clock on.
Yeah.
Instead, they're choosing to be a little bit less safe and just trying to open up the base so that they can begin to get inhibitors down.
You can see that Huni is forcing a big response. Look at 4 members go up top and Huni just jumps back. Now we're going to have a rotation from SKT too, and they're forcing a 4v4 now, which Longju can't win. Zilean coming over, but here's Faker. Expression getting extremely low, and there's going to be the first inhibitor. Now Faker just going to pop that turret super fast, and it looks like the bottom turret went down too, and everything is falling apart in the base of Longju. Here we come from behind. Crash trying to burst down Faker, not able to do so. Prey in the back. Look at Zilean ulted. Huni is just wrecking house right now in the back lines, and everybody's going to be destroyed. And that should be game number 1 going over to SKT. Gorilla, no hope for him. This is the Camille show at this point. Everybody going to go down. That is a full-on 5-0 ace as SKT come back with a message in game number 2 that they are not to be messed with in this series.
Yeah. This game a lot cleaner from SKT. Basically, so SK Telecom already off to a great start here in the ban phase.
Last time, I think they banned out Varus after Longju banned out Jace, or something else. Not 100% sure about Longju's 3rd ban in game 1. Ezreal
now being banned away from SKT.
Respect to Bang.
The final ban. Oh, SKT taking a little bit on this. They might actually just leave the Rengar up.
That's what they did in game 1. They might want to take away Varus. Do they do it again? That's the question. 8 seconds left. Echo. That's pretty interesting, because now Varus and Rengar are up, and now Longju have to make a decision.
So now Longju take the Rengar. SKT here now.
That's the other pick that's available is Jace. It's being hovered here. We saw Faker play it on Sunday, I believe. Series number 1.
All right, so they do lock in the Jace, and with Varus being on the table, they should lock that in on red side. Yep. There it is. Wow. And they do lock it in. So now Longzu, if you're looking at it, Ashe is still available. Oh, Draven hover. They did this last game, they hovered it.
Crash being a bit cheeky. Sivir. They want to go heavy engage.
If they want to go all in against SKT, then yeah, they could go Sivir Karma here for a super hyper aggressive team composition. And the problem here is I almost feel like this forces SK Telecom to ban away the Aurelion Soul in the second part of the ban phase, as Aurelion would play very well with the composition that Longzu's already drafted thus far. Not wanting to give away too much of their team composition, it looks like they're just going to take Kha'Zix right now. And that's primarily because Longzu doesn't really have too much to worry about right now going into the second ban phase. So they easily could have elected to ban out that Kha'Zix and force SK Telecom onto an Elise or a Graves pick, but not so certain that Blank could play that. So there's the Aurelion Soul ban, or at least a highlight, should be banned away.
It's going to be interesting to see what Longju decides to focus their bans on. Still no support picked for SKT, but it looks like they want to ban out Cassiopeia first.
Going back to game 1, yep, there's the Olaf that could be put up into the top lane.
Or Expression.
One of the problems here, though, is that SK Telecom, they might pick the Shen, but the Shen is an option for Longju if it's handed back over to them. Longju, with not a lot of CC, might want to just ban away the Katarina. They did that earlier.
Maokai, another pick that we've seen a lot in other series.
See Maokai or Nami here. Nami. As a response to the Karma. That seems to be the current trend inside of Korea. The only other options for support that are remaining is Zyra and the Misfortune, but while Zyra would serve a pretty good purpose here against Longju's team composition, Nami is able to fulfill almost the same role, but provide a lot more utility during the laning phase and supporting the jungler. It's now Longju actually going for the Maokai. Fantastic
Disengage too with the title lane out of Nami. So if they begin to charge at you, you just kind of throw that out there. So, okay, so Maokai coming in. What will be the mid laner?
Might just be another Zillion pick because there's no other major mid lane champion that would synergize with raw straight on red remaining. Echo already banned away, Aurelion Soul banned away, Cassiopeia banned away, Rise banned away. And if you think of Fly and what his champion pool offers, I mean, I guess you could go Orianna there if you really want to. But then you're going to find yourself between a rock and a hard place at certain points in the laning phase, depending on how Faker and Blank can play it. SKT elect to use their final pick on Rumble.
No tank on their side, but a hell of a lot of damage. That is for sure, but still they have to be very careful about that all-in composition of Longju.
SKT, lots of poke, lots of long range, and also because they are red side, they have the luxury of the red side Varus stall. In addition to the fact that they have Jace as well, it's going to be very difficult for Longju to find a way to try to get a Baron. And depending on what the Drake spawns are, it could prove difficult where it will come down to a situation that's similar to game number 1, except this time they won't have the luxury of the Olaf adding a clock to SK Telecom via the split push.
I love how active Koma is in the booth. Right up until the time where he's forced out, he's like saying everything with a ton of passion to every person that he needs to. Say, okay, you're doing this, make sure you're doing this. Okay, Huni, make sure you're okay in the top lane over here. Don't get ganked, nothing like that. So really trying to spread all the information that he can down to the wire. And this means a lot. I mean, we already saw one Titan team get upset in KT earlier on today, getting 0-2 by MVP. Now will we see SKT potentially go down in a 3-game series? It's definitely possible.
And so one final look at the team compositions here. SK Telecom has a lot of potential to open up the game big in mid lane or even top lane this time around. And they are fortunate enough to have the red side Kha'Zix playing directly into those 2 lanes.
So guys, we jump into game number 3 right now. Longju versus SKT going into the raid. Welcome to game 3. LZ versus SKT.
Both teams just fanning out. Nothing like game number 2 happening. Support's trading a little bit of the support gold early on. See if Blank actually starts on the Raptor camp.
Looks like he's hanging around there. But no support just yet. Just poking in his head. He was spotted by a ward up top.
Now it's especially actually going to come down and help Crash start on the raid camp. And again, all this does is it makes it a lot more difficult to read the jungle routes for both teams. Creates a lot more, well, it's just a lot more versatile. Faker now actually coming in. He's gonna maybe try to, well, he did.
Yeah, he got a couple of those. It's pretty cute.
Yeah, and that means that Crash did not actually get level 2 when he should have, but now he does. Moving over to the red now. And if Wolf and Bane aren't careful and if they shove in too hard, Mine Insect Prey actually just going to shut the lane. So it doesn't look like there's going to be any communication there to have Crash down the bottom lane.
I've seen that before. Gotta be very careful about that.
So Blank actually doing Raptor camp into red and into blue. Not going for the full-on clear. And this might be due to the fact that Prey and Gorilla were showing intent to constantly shove, but a little bit strange now that Wolf and Bane are shoving and zoning out their opponents. I feel like Blank could have been a little bit greedier with his route. Crash going up to top lane, gonna see the golems. Huni getting a ward on blue, he's gonna know that something's up. Something doesn't make sense.
And he didn't actually ward, but he did spot it. He's like, okay, something is wrong, and as the green casters are even saying, very dangerous for him right now. Is Crash looking to potentially come from behind, has the red buff. Huni playing it pretty safely so far. And here he comes. Gonna be a flash into Twisted Advance, and how can Huni get out of this one? Gotta be so careful. There's the red buff. Does get that down, and there's the flash over the wall. Attacks one, but Flash is suppressed by Crash. Is he gonna go for it? One more hit will do it, and he does get it. First blood by Crash.
That was really close. I actually almost thought that Huni had managed to get away there, but not quite. First blood now going over to Crash. Rengar, not the champion you want to be getting first blood if you're SKT. Meanwhile, Blank not able to find anything down in bottom. Does take away the golems, though, from Crash, who's now going to get the blue buff.
Oh, Faker's going on in. And forcing the flash, at least. So winning that free in that mid wave. Get a nice recall. You could even see the farm in mid lane already is 14 to 26.
You see how this ends up happening, especially not wasting any time. Just flash in there immediately. Tries to get over to this part of the ball, flash over, and then you can see that Crash almost actually messed up the flash, but using the brush mechanics, was able to get back onto Huni and finalize is still there. Meanwhile, in mid lane, Faker had quite a big CS lead, having his way with Fly in mid.
Not the first time. I love the way he zones. The second he hits level 2, he's like, okay, I dare you to come close to the wave. I'm just going to combo you. I'm Jace. I have a much better level 2. You just dodge the bombs with your gate. And it's like, okay, I'm fine. And Faker hasn't gone back yet. So he's still sitting here doing pretty well and making it very hard. Look at all those range minions were in a really awkward spot for him. Might have to use another bomb to clear those out.
Crash now looking to make something happen. Blank just sort of keeping tabs on where Crash could be. He's gonna end up running into him right here, but fortunately for him, he's not in range when Crash did touch the bush. Now they know the control wards there.
And unfortunately, they can't really get on in there and take out the control ward because Fly is forced to go back home. And keep in mind, he's already used that teleport to get back to lane and is still behind Faker quite considerably. 15 CS still. Faker is pushing that in, and I'm seeing a bit of a trade here as Huni hits 6 first, but not quite able to hurt to a kill.
Quite able to indeed, and mid and top lane for SKT winning quite handily in the CS department. And this is partly what I was talking about earlier, where, you know, Blank had the ability to cause a lot of chaos and snowball that it would be extremely difficult for Long to find a way to stabilize if that bottom lane has been pretty passive for the most part. Not a lot of action coming out for either side. But once Crash has his level 6, which he does right now, if he ever does move his way down there, certainly some potential for plays to happen.
See the way that Faker moves forward and forces out bombs, trying to get Fly to, you know, use those cooldowns, use that mana. And uh-oh, Crash, he's been spotted running inside. He's just going to get caught out here. Trying to jump onto him, and there he goes. So that's going to be the kill. And Crash, a bit of a mistake, and now, uh-oh, Fly in a bit of trouble. Able to get that stun out, but still getting very low in that mid lane.
Fly getting very low indeed, but Faker not having any of the mana available to him to take that trade much further, even though he had activated his ghost. We're going to take another look at the replay. So Crash coming into Blank's red side jungle, but didn't have any intel beforehand to really make this decision on if it would be good or bad. Finds out that it's bad really quick.
Gets straightened up real quick there. Making it look easy. Especially taking a breather when you can't really use the
When your team composition is intended and designed to run over the opponents and create monsters early on, this game with that, and you're behind and on the back foot, you can't really feel too good about that.
I've been very impressed by Faker's base play. Really just knows how to abuse that champion in mid lane. Some multitude matchups so far. I'd like to see him in others. Future. Crash may have spotted going on. There will be no test.
Looks like he's handing the blue off. It looks like he's taking it.
Oh, and look at this. Tons of damage coming out, even the title wave, forcing out the teleport from Maokai. The Miami still has his, and Blank's around to maybe follow this up. It doesn't look like it, but the bot lane will be pushed out. The teleport is forced. And so a big lead given over to SKT here, as they may even get first blood turret as well.
Yeah, SK Telecom just looks like they're steamrolling this game. They're certainly going to get first blood turret here. Don't know if they're just going to single-handedly give it only to Bang. Looks like it's going to be split between Wolf and Bang.
50 chunks of gold. You have a Cloud Drake as the first Drake in the game.
Gonna pick that up right now. Not the best dragon at this point, especially not with the accelerated early game.
Mountain Drake is next. So about 2,000 gold ahead is SKT. They get the first turret, both mid and top are ahead. Get a Cloud Drake. If they can expand on those, they'll be moving around the map very, very fast.
Mountain Drake will actually be of a lot of use to SKT. Not just to shred the Baron, but also to fight back against Fly's ability to stall out the game with his wave clear. Any little bit of extra damage that you can get onto the turrets will prove to be very useful. A little bit surprised to see that they haven't rotated Bang and Wolf into the mid lane yet, especially given the fact that Fly wasn't given a blue buff, doesn't have the ability to just endlessly sustain, and it would just open up Faker and his ability to then just move into the side lanes. But you could easily keep Faker, Wolf, and Bang in mid here. Oh, he does have the blue buff.
Interesting. Maybe he was about to kill it and then said, okay, come on over. Maybe Fly was just clearing up the wave first and then went over.
Blue buff did just fade though on him. So now his sustain is not quite going to be there. He just has the Catalyst, Bayons, and Double Door on.
Ooh, Fly in an awkward spot. The tidal wave coming out. Dana Corruption, but it looks like they want to back off here as lots of members of Longju come on in. Not commit to that.
See the wave clear coming out from Fly. Now Prey trying to catch back up in CS. And I feel like this is the point in the game in which Bang is obviously going to go down to pick up the wave, but SK Telecom should want to stay on top of their rotations and look to suffocate their opponent. As long as Team Comm doesn't really have a very good way at keeping up in pace, if SKT keeps up the tempo.
You can see Blank heading up to red buff, but they also spotted Crash moving his way up into top. And, you know, he could have been available to help out with a counter gank there, maybe rotate up Faker as well after he pushes, but you do see that Crash goes back home, and Blank is going to... Really nice hit to that base already. He's not even on completed items yet.
SK Telecom handshaking the fact that they'll just be content.
Ooh, they were looking for a big stun on the wall. Grabs a beat there for did not quite have the trading. Flash for flash.
Flash, not the worst trade, especially when the match flies. Summoners come up a little bit sooner than Wolf because of those Ionian. Right now, SK Telecom is sort of letting the game unfold on its own, continuing to farm every wave as they come, doing everything very standard, and Crash on his Rengar hasn't been able to make anything happen. Now, at this point in the game, the Dragon does come up. It's very difficult for long to establish any sort of vision control around it.
Gross. That's what it feels like playing against Varus. Jeez, just Dana Corruption on the fly. But Gorilla almost forced to go back to recall, sticking around as regeneration that he had bought from earlier. But when he's making his way down, they're just putting on that pressure. Not sure what a gold buff is. Now they're going to go on to Red Herald. There is a bit of vision around there. Not sure what they're going to do about this though. Come on in.
Even if they can't capture it, even having a team fight with them.
They will. And look at Fly and Gorilla. They're both extremely low, but also Blank and Wolf are. So Wolf is going to be jumped on. They almost let him get away. Free kind of funnily there. But does eventually get taken out by Crash. It's going to be one kill given on over to Longju.
In the end, SK Telecom, I liked the call for the Herald, but then the fight didn't go their way. But they need to make something else happen, otherwise the game's just going to continue to stagnate, and there's always the chance that some sort of Rengar plays can enable Longzu to get back into this game.